Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the FAME session for March 5th, 2024. I'm Phyllis Paisley, the Executive Director for the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education. Pleased to welcome Carrie Shepker Miller and Tiffany Marquardt today, who are going to answer some questions for us about TAB. So, welcome.
Thank you. Um, do you want to start, Carrie? I am Tiffany. TAB stands for Teaching for Artistic Behaviors, and it's a style or a pedagogy of teaching that's a little bit quite different than what is traditionally done, at least for someone who's been in the field for a good 15 years or more. It's basically taking the teacher away from the leadership role and putting student voices up front, giving them choices, giving them some autonomy and some agency. And how we design our lessons and our studio is basically it's like a three-dimensional lesson plan. And I'll let Carrie go since I kind of took over.
You did great. Yeah, it is. It's about letting the child take the lead and kind of reading the room, seeing what kids need, seeing where you think you can support them best and getting materials out that you think that they would enjoy exploring and really training artists instead of training children to make art.
I love that. Training artists instead of training children to make art.
Mhm.
So, can you tell us some of the artistic behaviors that you're actually teaching for? What are those?
Depending on how you design your studio or your classroom, I think mine and Carrie's are similar. The classroom is divided into studios. And so you do kind of teach in to a studio. So if it's a fiber studio, you might teach them about weaving, whether it's paper weaving, yarn weaving, or different things. And you teach them about the processes, but then you kind of step back and you let them dive in where they feel the most comfortable. And that way you don't have artists competing with one another and you don't have an adult standing over them and assessing student one up against student two. It's more about where that child is at that moment of the day and in their life. And then you do that with each studio with drawing, painting. And then once you have all the studios going, then everyone's just kind of working at their own rate. I don't know if
Yeah, and you teach through more so through studio habits of mind.
hmm.
So observing,
Reflecting, envisioning. We do persist a lot. Stretch and explore and trying new things. Yeah.
yeah, and since I have smaller kids, I am kindergarten through second, or I'm sorry, preschool. Sorry, I don't mean to forget them, but I only got them added on last year. I have preschool through second grade only, so the words engage and persist don't mean that much to those little bodies. So we talk more about like continuing to work hard on our project and trying to stick with the same project. And so I use the studio habits of mind, but a little bit differently, but exploring is a huge thing for my kiddos.
Yeah.
Thank you. What do you see as the greatest advantages of a TAB program over a discipline-based pedagogical approach?
Okay. When we talk about inequities in education, like the systemic inequities that we as a school district have, not purposefully, I think TAB jumps right in there. Whether you're talking about developmental equity, racial equity, financial equity, it's just all of that, like, because it's all about every individual student. The student is the guide of their processes and where they go and the materials that they use. So you have the kids who, if if they're very tactile, they can do a lot of 3D work and get some jewels and puff balls and wire pipe cleaner. They can just work with tactile things. And your kids who are a little bit more advanced, if they want to work with a blending stump and do some shading and start working on, overlapping in their drawing or their painting. Um, I think that's the first thing. It's really we talk about differentiation in education, and tab is it. There's no way to teach tab and not differentiate. So I think it's just great in that sense.
Yeah, it sounds like you're meeting each learner where they are.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that was exactly my sentence was it really levels the playing field.
Hmm.
And everyone has the choice to enter the studio where they're most comfortable. So they're going to thrive in the choices that they make, and they're going to be more successful because they've owned their content, they've owned their subject that they're going to work with, they've owned their medium. Yeah, it really levels the playing field and really gives them a really good sense of self and what they like and what they want to do.
And to people who worry about behavioral issues, you were saying the students take ownership so much you don't have behavior issues because you're not forcing a child to paint a picture of a sailboat that they've never seen in real life, but you're letting them paint what they want, or it's just so you're I don't know, discipline, behavior, like it is, people think it's a free for all maybe, but it's really not. It's scaffolding. And yeah, I think engagement is super high.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question. What changes do you see in your students as a result of their engagement in this TAB approach to arts education?
I think as a teacher, you learn who your students are, first of all, way more than I ever did. I mean, I've been teaching for 25 years. And I can say when I did discipline-based education, I knew students on a surface level, but I really didn't understand their likes, their dislikes, their strengths, their weaknesses as much as I do now. Like now you really know like where the kids are, what they like. You watch them really like, work on their strengths to go even stronger. And then you can kind of help them, guide them to build up maybe some of their weaknesses. But I'm not sure what the original question was, but go
I
ahead,
was,
Carrie.
It was,
no, that's
it was
what
about,
it was like, what we notice are the differences. I notice a big, well, a couple things. I know that the teachers in my classroom notice that kids are more willing to try and more willing to take risks than they would be if they were in a studio where they had a right and a wrong of how to do things. And I know that that spills out into my building for sure. Um, they are willing to explore materials, and they understand that if it's okay if they spend a day just mixing colors, because that information is going to connect to them a lot more down the road than if you stand up in the smart board and you tell them what's going to mix on the color wheel. If you just let them have those colors and mix, they're going to internalize that and know when they need it, that they're willing to try until they get that right color green that they want. So my kids are definitely willing to explore more and investigate more. Um, what else?
And to piggyback, you were talking about how other teachers see how it's spilling out into the school. Even right now, I have art recess available for my fifth graders. And today, one of the, I hate seeing duty teachers, but one of the teachers who are out on recess came into the art room, and this happens every week because I have 2/3 of the fifth graders who show up in the art studio. And there's like 10 kids outside playing at recess, and the rest of them are all here, and they're not clowning around. We're having an art show in April, and they're all working on their art show pieces. Like they're just highly engaged. So you see that not only taking ownership, but that confidence building, like Carrie said.
Yeah,
so
I had a professional observation the other day, and my principal who observed me said I did have 100% engagement in my classroom.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So I mean, it really is true that they care and they're going to work hard.
well, thank you. And you've already alluded to my next question a little bit. Do you see any changes among your teacher colleagues as a result of your students' engagement in TAB and your utilization of a TAB pedagogical approach?
I probably see less than teachers in a traditional school, because I'm in a Reggio Emilia inspired setting, and individual classroom teachers also offer children opportunity to have choice within their classrooms. Like almost every classroom in my school has an area for loose parts that they can use within their classroom. Um, I'm sure that my kids are probably more adept at transforming materials because they're doing it not just with me, but in their classrooms as well. But I would think because of the type of teaching that the rest of my building does, that I probably see a little bit less of that. But in a traditional classroom, I bet people see, our teachers see more of that.
Yeah, I think for the, we're teaching to the whole child, and so I think the teachers do see that that confidence transfer in their room. But also, on a daily basis, multiple times a day, I'll just have a student come in. They'll be in middle of working on something upstairs, and they'll say, "Oh, Mrs. Marquardt, I came down to borrow the hole punchers." And I just let the school know that, like, this is the kid's studio. They can come in, even though I have 20 kindergartners running around, like, they come in, borrow supplies, take it upstairs, return it, and put it back where they found it. It's almost like a library.
Mhm.
The resources are here for the students and the staff, even though the staff may not borrow the things as much as the students do. It's an open, yeah, it's just part of the building. It's part of the culture of our building now.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make anyone who's viewing this aware of a wonderful opportunity that we have through TAB St. Louis's workshop scheduled for this coming June 17th and 18th. And the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education is thrilled to partner with not only Tiffany and Carrie and some more of their colleagues, Abby Birhanu and Elizabeth Williams, to bring this pedagogy to life for Missouri art educators and even outside. I think last year, ladies, didn't you have a gifted educator, meaning a teacher of gifted students,
Mhm.
who we're all gifted educators. So, but I mean, a teacher who works with students who've been identified as gifted, who came to apply this pedagogical approach to her work in a gifted classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had a couple music teachers, a couple gifted teachers over the years. And really, I think a classroom teacher could absolutely apply the same thing. It's just like receiving the pedagogy and being able to implement it into what you do, because it isn't, there's no curriculum, there's no framework.
Mm-hmm.
It's just tips and tricks on how to help you best facilitate a learning environment where kids have choice and autonomy.
What teachers might be able to expect from having attended the 2-day workshop for TAB Choice Art. We see that they will walk away with the things that are listed here, but
Mhm.
I'd love to hear in your own words what you think would be the greatest benefit for teachers coming to this workshop.
I think we try to design it so it's very engaging while they're here. It's not a sit and get. I mean, we have some, parts where, of course, we want to share information, but we try not to make it just a sit and get. We are art teachers, so we try to keep our hands busy because many of us are doodlers and makers. But we walk out with a lot of the resources that you might use in your classroom. Carrie said earlier, it's not a set of lesson plans. We don't do that, but we give, like, maybe supply ideas or ways that, different ways you might set up your classroom, different, studio, options. What else, Carrie?
Yeah, I think I was actually reading some feedback from last year today about last year's workshop. And I think the number one thing is people really appreciate that it's in our classrooms, it's in our studios. So people can sit in our space and they can see how we've set up the space, see how we've organized the materials. And then often we haven't talked, solidified our agenda for this year yet, but very often we invite kids into the studio and we do a small mini lesson so someone can actually experience a small tab class. And they can see the kids spread out into the studio and how they get their supplies and how they return their supplies and how they do a share at the end of class. So one of the biggest pluses for us is that people really appreciate being in the environment and like seeing the nitty gritty of how it works.
And
I
like Carrie said, sorry to cut you off.
You're good. You're good.
We do try to get you in the classroom, but we also try to do more than one classroom. So today, or this year, it's 2 days long. So one day you're actually going to be here in my classroom at a K-5 elementary building, but in the afternoon, we're going to be at a middle school classroom. And Abby, who teaches middle school currently, used to teach high school just a couple of years ago. So she has her classroom set up very much like she did when she was in the high school setting as well. So we try to show you some different styles because every teacher has their own style of how they do things.
I see. Well, thank you both very much for giving us a little bit of a glimpse into the TAB um, pedagogical approach philosophy toward art education that obviously, as you mentioned, can apply to lots of other different fields as well. And I'm looking forward to the event in June, and I hope we'll have lots of other friends join us.
And then Carrie, did you want to share the video before we go?
Thank you for sharing that.
We usually have like a hands-on activity that helps build community within the workshop because conversations take place where people really learn a lot from each other because we have all a range of teachers. It might be a first-year TAB teacher and a 10-year TAB teacher. So being able to sit at the same table and have a conversation, everybody grows from each other, not just from the four of us standing in front of the classroom, but we have usually like some community building activities so that you can meet some other art teachers.
And work
We
at your level, like so if you're a high
Right.
school teacher, you can sit with other high school teachers, so that
Yeah.
you're out of your element all the time.
Right. And we do we'll have a breakout group with with your age or how long you've been in TAB, depending on our agenda that year. We change things up every single year of TAB. This year we have Melissa Purdy doing our keynote, and she is a high school teacher. She's incredible. Her resources are like out of this world. I'm gonna fangirl a little bit because I haven't had a whole lot of interaction with her, so I'm pretty excited. We do like a pretty general how-to that everybody can learn from. We do a lot of stuff on curriculum and assessment because that's always everybody's big question is how do I assess when I've got 20 kids doing 20 different things? We do try to do like a happy hour or some sort of a catch up at the end of the day.
And
Right.
we write our agenda for the 2 days after we start getting our registration, because we do, in the registration, we kind of ask you what you're looking for. And that way we build our agenda around, trying to meet your needs.
So when you sign up for the workshop, it says, what do you want to get out of the workshop? And like, no joke, we build the agenda from what people are looking for. So we make sure that we meet everyone's needs.
Okay.
Super fun.
See you in June.
Come hang out with us.
It sounds great. Well, thanks again for your
you
time. Came
can-
last year, come on back.
Mhm.
And if you haven't ever been, it's going to be a great 2 days. We hope you can join
Could you
us.
tell us can you tell us what two schools are participating this year? What are the sites?
The sites are Captain Elementary School, which is my classroom here, and then Wydown Middle School.
Okay,
You can read a few more details about the upcoming TAB workshop on our website. We have the tab that just kind of gives the overview, and then tab details, which is the next web page down under programs. Just check it out, and we hope that you will choose to join us in June. Thanks again, ladies, for being here, and we will look forward to seeing you very soon again. Bye, everybody.